Draft night wasn't just chaotic, it exposed something deeper across the NFL. Fans were celebrating, panicking, even arguing seconds after picks were announced. But hidden inside those reactions was a pattern nobody's talking about, one that could decide which teams rise and which completely collapse this season. But what fans noticed first wasn't even the real problem. Draft night looked exciting on the surface. Highlight picks, explosive playmakers, and fan bases celebrating like their team just won the Super Bowl. But if you look closer, something felt off. Across the league, teams kept stacking weapons, wide receivers, running backs, flashy talent, while quietly ignoring the one thing that keeps everything alive: protection. Quarterbacks were getting help, just not the kind that actually keeps them upright. It's a pattern we've seen before. Build the highlight reel first, worry about the trenches later. And every year it leads to the same outcome: talent wasted, offenses collapsing, and fans wondering what went wrong. Some teams clearly learned from past mistakes, prioritizing offensive lines and long-term stability. But others, they doubled down on the same risky formula. And here, where it gets interesting, because this isn't just about bad decisions. It's about a league-wide mindset shift, one that could completely reshape how offenses succeed or fail this season. The gap between smart teams and desperate ones is starting to show, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. But the moment one team ignored this completely, everything took a surprising turn. Some teams walked into this draft with a clear plan, and it showed immediately. Quiet, disciplined, almost boring decisions, stacking the offensive line, building depth, thinking 2 steps ahead. You could see the influence of organizations like the Green Bay Packers, where patience and structure matter more than headlines. These are the teams that don't chase hype, they build contenders. But on the other side, everything felt different. Aggressive trade-ups, flashy picks, and moves designed to win the reaction, not the season. When a talent like Malik Neighbors ends up in a situation that raises questions, you start to wonder what the real plan is. Are these teams building something sustainable or just trying to buy excitement? And that's where the divide becomes impossible to ignore. Smart teams are thinking about protection, chemistry, and long-term success. Hype teams are chasing instant impact, hoping it all somehow clicks. Both approaches look good on draft night, but only one survives when the season actually begins. Because history has already shown how this plays out, and not everyone is going to like the ending. And one decision in particular may have already exposed which side some teams are really on. One of the biggest shocks of the night didn't come from a trade, it came from a decision that made almost no sense in the moment. A team with a proven star at quarterback, someone like Matthew Stafford, suddenly decides to draft his potential replacement. Not next year, not as a backup plan down the line, right now. And instantly the questions start flooding in. Why would you make that move when your window to win is still open? Reports suggest even voices inside the building, including Sean McVay, weren't exactly thrilled about it. Because this isn't just about adding depth, it changes the entire dynamic of the locker room. Veterans notice, the quarterback notices, and suddenly what looked stable doesn't feel that way anymore. We've seen this before, teams trying to secure the future while risking the present. Sometimes it works. Most of the time, it creates tension that slowly builds until something breaks, and once that doubt creeps in, it's hard to control what happens next. Because this wasn't just a pick, it was a message, and not everyone is going to interpret it the same way. And what that message triggered behind the scenes might already be unfolding. Across the league, one lesson keeps repeating itself, and teams still don't seem to fully learn it. You can have elite weapons, explosive playmakers, and highlight reel talent, but if your quarterback doesn't have time to throw, none of it matters. That's why some teams made the less exciting choice this year. They chose protection first. Look at players like Lamar Jackson. When he's protected, the entire offense becomes almost unstoppable. But when pressure breaks through, even the best quarterbacks are forced into survival mode. And we've already seen what happens when teams ignore this. Bryce Young became the perfect example of what not to do: talent surrounded by chaos, constantly running for his life instead of controlling the game. That's why this draft quietly revealed which teams are thinking long-term and which ones are setting themselves up for the same mistakes. Building the offensive line isn't flashy, it doesn't trend, but it's the difference between a playoff run and a season falling apart by mid-year. Because once the hits start piling up, confidence drops, timing breaks, and everything begins to collapse faster than expected. And one team may have just ignored this completely, with consequences coming sooner than anyone thinks. Every draft has that moment, the one where everyone watching suddenly stops and asks, Wait, how did that just happen? This year, it wasn't just one pick, it was a pattern. Talented players kept slipping further than expected, and somehow certain teams just sat back and watched elite prospects fall right into their laps. These are the moments that quietly reshape the league. While everyone's focused on the big trades and flashy headlines, the real value gets picked up in silence. A defensive playmaker here, a lockdown safety there, players who weren't supposed to be available suddenly becoming the foundation of a defense. It's not luck, it's patience meeting opportunity. And then there are the comparisons. Fans instantly start saying things like, "This feels like drafting another Micah Parsons," not because it's guaranteed, but because the upside is that high. When a team hits on one of these unexpected drops, it can change everything faster than any planned move ever could. But for every team celebrating a steal, there's another one being questioned for letting that player slip away. Because those missed opportunities don't disappear, they come back later, usually at the worst possible time. And one of those missed players might be the biggest regret of this entire draft. Draft night isn't just about who you pick, it's about the risks you take to get there. And this year, some front offices went all in. Aggressive trade-ups, future picks sacrificed, and bold moves designed to grab their guy no matter the cost. In the moment, it feels decisive, even genius, but history shows these gambles don't always age well. On the flip side, teams like the Buffalo Bills kept doing the opposite, trading back, stacking value, and playing the long game. It's not exciting. Fans don't celebrate it right away. But over time, those extra picks can quietly turn into depth, flexibility, and unexpected starters. And then come the doubts, reaching for players projected in later rounds, taking a running back earlier than expected, passing on key needs. Fans start questioning decisions before the second round even begins, because once you commit to a risky move, there's no undo button, only the pressure of being right. That's what makes this part of the draft so dangerous. It's not just about talent, it's about timing, value, and judgment under pressure. And when front offices get it wrong, the consequences don't show up immediately, they build slowly, then hit all at once. And one of these risky decisions might already be setting up a massive collapse. This draft wasn't just about players, it revealed a shift in how teams are building for the future. Some franchises focused on protection, balance, and long-term success. Others chased explosive talent and instant impact. Both paths look promising right now, but only one usually survives when the season begins. The gap between disciplined teams and desperate ones is starting to widen. And once games begin, those differences won't stay hidden for long. Because this isn't just about who won the draft, it's about who actually built something that lasts. And the first few weeks of the season might expose everything.